And a big hangout, everybody out there, especially those of you celebrating or who have celebrated Valentine's Day. Not sure if that's actually something that's celebrated everywhere. I imagine so. Well, good to see everybody. I'm going to jump right into it, start taking a look at some things. So today is the first day of May in 2041. So that's the first day of stakes coming now, Quattro Cinco. So we close out the month. Looking at the Quattro Cinco stakes on the pulse chain that were made since the beginning of the year, you can see we vary day to day. Most days we get at least one in. At least this year we have, right? And you can see the T-shares being created day over day, out Quattro Cinco. So those of us in the walled garden are taking advantage of that. We are. So you see that people are doing that. We'll bring this up one level. Just take a look at what we've seen so far in February of this month, this year. 695, almost 696. What a wonderful number. Rounded up. 696 T-shares. Can't get enough threes. That's for sure. So we're just kind of like moving along. Let's take a look at our. Let's take a look at what else we have going on here. Stakes by start. All right. Average creation up a little bit on pulse chain, 3.6 years. Looks like we've got 4.8 years on the Ethereum side as the average stake length goes. So people are staking, those people who are interested in that are still continuing to stake. We take a look at our 2040 and beyond T-shares, right? We can see I brought this back to just look at everything after the big OA stake ends out in 2040. This is log, so the numbers are different every month, but it's pretty close. Somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000 T-shares a month, so that's been pretty steady. No more Quattro Cincos for April of 2041. So no more of those. So we're going to move into May of 2041. Of course, people will backfill these a little bit, but in general, people don't go, spread out. You don't get as much. I mean, Quattro Cinco is Quattro Cinco. Not many of us go, oh, I'd like to do 5,541 days. So that's not really a thing, but it could be. You can see it filling in, but we can see month over month, the type of participation we're seeing out Quattro Cinco. And it's a high risk, high reward play for sure. Take a look at the leaderboard, top 10 stakes that are ending in the next 7 days. We've got about 100 million coming out as an estimated payout here on this 20-day stake. I mean, it's almost what they put in. They didn't earn a whole lot of extra. So 100 million.070. So something around 70,000 maybe as a reward. Give you kind of an idea of what's coming out. In the good accounting realm, I know some people chase this pretty hard. Those that want the bounty from the Communis app follow this a little bit, but we do have several thousand T-shares that are eligible for good accounting that have not been good accounted yet. Looks like this 347 T-share stake is the oldest at 23 days. I have a 14-day at 3,777 T-shares. Pretty interesting, those kind of numbers. Looking at share rate increases. Remember HEX now. It does its thing. It's an immutable contract. It's running on both Pulse Chain and the Ethereum side consistently every single day. No middle person, no middle man, no middle woman, no middle day. It is users generate all of the action there. In terms of HEX, the T-share rate can only go up and has only gone up. And we're at somewhere around 44,357 currently on the Pulse Chain side. We did have two difficulty increases that came through yesterday on the 13th. depending where you are. Don't know the exact time. I didn't, this should be UTC, but, sometimes those time zones get a little mixed up with software. But regardless, just slowly climbing upwards. Just slowly. Looking at our 30-day look ahead, we're going to just, these aren't going to change every time. The numbers might change a fraction, but we're slowly climbing towards that 45,000 rate. Long term, again, no big surprise here. We're looking at something around the 72,000 level on both chains as we get out into 34, 35. Let's see, what's the last data date on that? Yeah, this last data date's 34 on this, and then would just creep up slowly after that. For the 30-day look ahead, this is what our 30 days looks like going forward. Pretty normal amount of HEX coming out in terms of total volume that potentially could be minted through end stakes, but these are the estimated payouts, so nothing really big to see here. But if we go to the 12-month, it does look a lot bigger, right? Boom, we got this big OA stake, which will end in March, and so we'll be looking forward, at least I will be, to see what does the OA do. What will the OA do? Let's do, this is 30 days. If I turn on my drill down, let's see what it looks like here, just to give you an idea what it looks like. So as you can see, the OA stake dominates with this 34 billion HEX that's going to come out, and nobody knows what the OA will do. We'll have to wait and see. I don't know what I'd like the OA to do. I think if I was the OA, I would reserve the HEX for the next move as a lever in the future that it might have. But you never know. If I exclude this date out real quick, let me just see what this looks like. So you can see a much different kind of framework here, day over day, the amount of HEX coming out. So that's a pretty big amount that we're going to see. All right, taking a look at the markets just for a moment. HEX is kind of going sideways right now in terms of USD price. Some of the other derivatives are a little bit sideways. You get a little bit different action on the actuator protocol because there is farming over there, and so there are people who are willing to purchase up the longer HTTs and create an uptrend. 1 second. All right, so that's kind of going along. What else we got over here? Related tokens. What are we seeing? So a little pop on DESI, up at 6.59% in the last 24. So a little bit of an uptrend. Hedron sideways, Maxi a little bit sideways. Not a lot of liquidity or interest out there. I do see Helgo. It's also an uptrend, up a couple points. It printed a golden ratio multiplier buy signal today. You always have to keep in mind there are people who are dedicated to Helgo and the HEX environment. There's quite a bit of liquidity over there, even now with the depressed prices at over 600,000, almost 666,000 in terms of liquidity. And so you have a couple different things that people do there. First, the contract itself, you have to go do your own research, but the contract itself does some heavy lifting with ratio trading, Helgo to HEX, etc., going back and forth. And then you also have individual users. So that's a little internal thing, but Helgo has continued to rise with HEX, its primary liquidity. So you have that. If we look at packaged products out there, the DESI, even though liquidity is, again, you have to check your liquidity if you're getting into the derivatives and make sure you're willing to pay the price and also potentially to hold to the end dates. But currently with the DESI, 1 HEX entry into DESI would pay something around 20% overall APR between now and 2032. And that's just because of the increase in rise of the number of HEX you would get per DESI. So it's almost 1-to-1 right now with HEX. That's pretty close, in terms of being a 1-to-1 ratio. But it's estimated to pay out between somewhere around 2.3, 2.4 hex per deci. And so from that, you can figure out that it's going to be 136% ROI. And because it's 136% ROI, you can make that into an APR, which is around 20%. Now, I will mention, because this comes up all the time when people ask about it. These are based on very conservative payouts, right, going into the future. And I'll show you that next on one of the other charts. But this is just assuming the baseline continues to grow the way it has been growing. And so that's why we see that. Let's go take a look, and I'll have a prepared slide on that. Let's see, where do I want to go? I want to go see the payouts. Well, let's look at the payouts. All right. So for example, this is from April 1st of 2025 through 12/31/26, right? You can see in gold down here, the baseline payout. At some point here, I'll probably have to adjust and go upwards to what we were actually seeing for payout. It's just it had been so chaotic. I hadn't wanted to do anything but the most conservative. But you can see day over day, we have this rising baseline, but then you have the emergency end sticks that are taking place. Boom, 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 boom. And that's what we're seeing when you see these rises, and it looks more like columns instead of a slow rise. As we go out into the future, nobody knows what's going to happen, but I know what the baseline roughly is, and this is what the rough baseline is for payouts. So will we continue to see this? I guess we will. I mean, we've been seeing it. So we're seeing a higher payout than the baseline, 1.7 all the way up to 2.9 almost. And so that may continue. But again, remember, walled garden. The people who are watching this stream or who are interested in hex staking are a very, very filtered and refined group of people. The people that have not given up on hex staking, and it doesn't take much to become a very big player 15 years from now. But you could also, who knows, maybe not be worth anything. I don't think that's going to be the case, but if you want to play the game of hex, much like one BTC is one BTC, and you have belief long term in hex, one hex is one hex, right? And so you have the ability to accumulate a lot of hex at this point, a lot of hex. So in fact, let's go take a look at the drawdowns and what it's been looking like. So on the Pulse chain, for instance, we were just looking at the 2041 data. I don't know, 100,000 hex, which is, I'd have to go check the price to figure it out, but it's not a very high cost, right? But 100,000 hex would get you somewhere around Super Shark 6 T-shares. Right now, just one stake, Cuatro Cinco, makes you a shark in 2041. That's how depressed this is in terms of people getting involved. And people ask me, "Oh, you think this is a good thing?" I took a little bit of flack because I was like, "Well, I'm not sure hex staking will even come back. I'm not even sure hex staking come back." But wait a minute. Well, listen, I'm only viewing what I'm seeing, right? So yeah. I mean, I'm looking at what we're seeing. And I'm seeing what the activity is, and I'm telling you that out in 2041, we don't have that many T-shares. We got 6,000 T-shares, right? So you may not like what I have to say, but what I'm seeing is that if you want to be a big player out there, you can do that. Now, of course, if the protocol takes off and has a resurgence of staking, then of course your position is going to change relative to everybody else. But it's kind of interesting, kind of cool. Right, that somebody can go stake 100,000 hex and become a super shark in 41, or excuse me, a super shark in 41. And if you did that every month going forward, which might be too much for a lot of people, but that puts you at whale status, as compared to everybody else. So I mean, it's pretty interesting in the non-fiat measurements, right? Now, of course, if you're getting a lot of HEX from all that, and at some point we will cycle and prices will cycle, then you might be in really good shape. That's one of the reasons, and optionality is important to me. So at this point, so I know there's a lot of people that listen who are like super interested in maxi, native staking. That's fine. It's good. We need that, right? But there's different parts of the market. There was also the part of the market where we were looking at Actuator a few minutes ago. HSIs are a thing, and I think in general for users, you have to decide what you want to do. But if you are going to participate, HSIs are not a bad way to open yourself up to options in the future. You don't have to do anything different. It's really cheap to create an HSI. It used to be expensive on Ethereum with the gas prices, but it's not. And it just opens up optionality for the stakes to be portable. And we'll just not get into the conversation or discussion about is that a good thing or a bad thing for HEX. I mean, people can do it. And I think it's a good thing for some users to be able to do that. But yeah, it's kind of like a politics discussion, right? Which is the best thing for HEX? I don't know. But there we go. All right, so we took a look at that. Let's look at the T-share count. T-share count continues to come down. We're not getting as much activity in staking on the EHEX side overall. So it's a little bit flatter in terms of the number of T-shares and how it comes down. But it's not much different between the two chains, right? I mean, in my opinion, right? So we do continue to see the share rate on both sides coming down. So that will continue. We look at our, let's go look at a drawdown last 30 days roughly. So you might remember from the last stream we had, we were something at a 40% rate. We were hit over the last 30 days, we're at about a 30% negative rate on T-shares. What does that mean? For every 100 T-shares, 70 new ones are being created, roughly on both chains. That's going to vary based on user activity, but it's good to kind of watch us see where we're headed. Gives you a little bit of an idea for people. Look at what they're interested in. We look at T-shares over the next 30 days. We'll probably lose another 20,000 on both chains. So it's pretty normal stuff. It does continue to become more expensive to restake and get the same number of T-shares. So, I mean, that's expected. That's expected. We go to our 60-day. We should be approaching really close to 45,000 HEX per T-share over the next 60 days. It will be dependent on the Pulse chain side. It's going to be dependent on one or two stakers actually ending their stakes and driving it to 45. But on the Ethereum side, there are multiple stakes that will bring it up. And so we'll see what happens with this little race to 45K. Probably, I'm going to guess, probably we'll see. We'll see Ethereum hit 45K before Pulse chain. But these numbers, when we look at them, I mean, 230, 230,000. Actually, not even that much. The difference between the two being 230 HEX is not a whole lot, right? So it's not like a big difference between them. In fact, when we go out and look at the 90-day, I do expect them to cross and maybe recross as we go out into the 90-day and be approaching that 46,000 level out 120 days. I see Pulse chain almost getting there. But again, the Ethereum side will probably be out at 46,000. So it's getting more expensive to get those T-shares on the Ethereum side. Go out to 27. These have not changed, but 27, beginning of 27, I would expect something close to 50K, and end of 27 closer to 55. And when we look at all models, again, just approaching that 70 to 80,000 HEX per T-share level. Now, this could all change. Well, in fact, I know it'll change. I don't know what they'll actually be, right? But the higher the payout, the higher the T-share rate will be. And so we are seeing the payouts go up a little bit. And in the future, we don't know what the OAL do. So we may see the payouts go up even further. And or maybe the OAL surprises, that big stake we were talking about that's supposed to be ending that the OA has with all that HEX. Let's see if we can pull that up. Go look at that. Estimated payouts in 12 months. Let me change my filter back and not exclude this. Boom. All right. So you see this big 34 billion HEX that's going to come out. Well, the OA could actually bring the payout, the payout per T-share level down. How would it do that? Well, this was a relatively short stake. It was only out about a year, right, or so, and so it's a relatively big stake of 34 billion HEX. If it thought it was the right thing to do, it could go out Quattro Cinco and get a lot more T-shares. And so in that way, the rate could come down. I don't know what the OE is going to do, but I think maintaining the HEX and the ability to go stake it opens up optionality for the future. Right? So there's lots of stuff the OA could do, but we'll wait and see. I guess we're going to wait and see. March 16th, March 17th, maybe we'll see something that the OA does. All right, I think I covered all of the slides we got for questions. Hey, everybody, how are you? Yeah, title-wise, I couldn't think of another contract that's more loved, that's immutable than HEX. So we got a pretty strong group of people who are interested in and love the old HEX. So we have that out there. So that's going on. Of course, there was a tie-in to Richard Hart, Valentine's Day. And of course, the other thing is I think it's fallen off a little bit, but we had seen in the past that people like to rally around certain dates like Valentine's Day. So maybe you see something like that. All right. I don't know if we'll see a big resurgence of HEX staking today. All right. Shisa, see you out there. Festive-Dual, always here for the tech. You see the monkey. HEXFire. Yeah, Acid, I did this early enough that this stream is evening for a lot of people. I guess it's 2 in the morning somewhere, right? 2, 3 in the morning. So I apologize for that, guys. But you get up in the morning, you can watch the restream. Europe, I believe you're going to see this at 9 p.m. maybe, something like that, 8, 9 p.m. I'm not keeping up with the time zones. Oh yeah, ProveX beta. I've been watching that closely. I'm not going to be bleeding edge on that one. I'm just watching. I'll be an early adopter once it's proven out, but I appreciate people doing the beta testing on it. Not clear enough to me yet what I would need to do with ProveX, but pretty cool additional tool. I don't know if it replaces anything. I think, but it does open up, a different way to get in and out of the pulse chain. So you got that. You still have Coast out there. You have the bridge. You got Liberty Swap. You have all these different methodologies to get in and out. Moonmuck, good to see you, Mr. Max. And yeah, Mr. Max, I don't know what am I going to do. What am I going to do? How could I stop streaming about HEX? So you're saying, thanks for continuing these videos. Stakers. Yeah, stakers are rolling, man. That's for sure. Let's take a look here. So I think you're responding to Mike's comment about HEX staking. HEX staking. I think it may depend on how high HEX goes. Will make a difference how much HEX gets staked in the future. Top of the ball. I feel like most people are not restaking and holding HEX liquid in case. Yeah, they are. Yeah, the argument, it's, I don't know if it quite fits. I'm not articulate enough to actually explain the prisoner's dilemma the way other people would, but perhaps that applies here. You got your liquid HEX, you're afraid the price is going to go up, and if you stake it, you can't get it out, and so therefore you can't take profit, but HEX isn't going up, and therefore you're not earning any rewards on the HEX. It's sitting there, liquid in a wallet, and even if you did decide to stake it, at least what you can calculate right now is like a 4% for the longest period of lockup time. And for the shortest periods of lockup time, 1%ish or even under 1% APR. So yeah, it again, I keep coming back, Mr. Max, to this idea that we had our believers cycle that staked HEX, and we've now moved into the second trimester of the first HEX cycle, and now we have true believer phase, and true believers reside within the walled garden of HEX staking. These are the people that, traders and people waiting for tops are going to be like, you guys are nuts. Why would you even lock this up? It doesn't make any sense. But, at this point, value-wise, to be able to get HEX, to be able to lock it up for a long time, is so cheap. It actually, it's like being in 2020. And so again, man, I can't win the argument, right? I've had the argument with people. All I can do is say, hey, but the price could go up. And they turn around and say, yeah, but look at the charts. It's only going down. So very hard argument to win. So I'm not trying to actually win the argument. Approach it like a game. And, go from that angle. Never put anything in there you're not willing to lose, because obviously you can lose. You can lose. Look at the values, right? Mike, good to see you. How is life, Mr. Crispy? Well, better than I deserve, that I can tell you. Abundance mentality, my friend. Abundance mentality. And Mr. Monkey, good to see you out there. The less popular staking gets, the higher the payout for those that do. It's a walled garden. Yeah. I again, you can quickly find a dozen people to tell you, wait a minute, what are you guys nuts? You guys are nuts. But yeah, if hey, listen, I'm not trying to convince anybody to stake. It's actually better for me if other people don't stake. But there are different, and that's kind of your point as well, higher the payout if other people don't stake. But, we're an open community, abundance mentality. I mean, people want more HEX. They can accumulate more HEX. I'm happy to just show them what I'm seeing. And that's what I'm doing. I'm showing people what's going on. And, if it works out for them, works out for them, I guess, the HEX contract works the way it's designed to work every single day. What people do in the market and price, we don't know. But remember, there's lots of ways to participate in crypto in general. And you get your hodlers, which, by the way, hodlings always seem to work pretty good for well-valued assets. Again, somebody's going to argue that HEX is not that, but whatever. But certainly overall, I don't think the story is written yet about HEX. I don't think it's complete. But if you look at, was probably, it would have been a smart move for me to buy a bunch of that Ethereum for $1.52, then hold on to it. I would have been holding now for, I don't know, almost 10 years. Might have been a good idea to even, to buy a bunch of Bitcoin at $700 and just hold on to it. So there's hodlers, right? But it was always, but even then, guys, it was always with the caveat that it may not be worth anything. It might go to zero, and you can't really, because you can't promise it, because you don't know. You don't control the markets, right? So, but yeah, in retrospect, yeah, sure. I wish I bought about 100,000 HEX. I mean, or Ethereum. Yeah, HEX. 100,000 Ethereum at $1.50, $1.82. Right, that would have been pretty good. But I didn't have the money to do it, man. Still don't. But nevertheless, if I did, it's easy to talk about. But even then, and that's another thing. It doesn't have to be big bites like that. It could be small bites. I could have done something. And so the idea of holding on some HEX for the long term, who knows what might happen. So you got your hodlers. But by and large, if we look outside of staking, so you can argue pretty strongly, except for like validating stuff, that most people are not excited any longer about staking in general in crypto. So that's a very tight-knit, smallish group of people that are staking. Right? So you have that, put that off to the side. Okay, so how does crypto normally operate then? Crypto operates on speculation. That price will go up. People buy cheap, they try to sell high. Other people, buy high, sell low because they got caught up in the hype. That's the cycle. Wash, rinse, repeat, and it just keeps going, right? And so for a crypto market to work, there needs to be speculation at this point. There's other things that go beyond that, like, you know, when people actually build communities, and that's what you see. That's how you see these floors get built. You know, whether you like XRP or not, it seems to have developed sort of a floor and has come back, and that's been through continued resilience of the community. You know, with their XRP, and for the most part, even though there's some new things now coming out with XRP and Flare and all that, pretty much that's been a buy and hold situation or a trade, right? So people are either buying and holding and trading, make it more scarce by doing the buying and holding, prices go up. So anyways, I digress. You don't need any advice from me, and it's not financial advice. So off we go. All right. And as always, Mr. Sheesh, man to talk. No expectations, and certainly no expectations from the work of others, and including what they might do in the market. You know, only kind of guess and speculate. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and close out this stream. I do appreciate everybody jumping in on this Valentine's Day special. And we'll be back next week with another T-Share report. And I will bet you that the T-Share rate will be higher. How about that? I bet it goes up over the next week. And with that, let's say goodbye to T. You guys stay crispy out there.
Yo, T, urgent hex buy signal. Charts flaming hot.
Golden ratio, huh? That's how legends stack T-shares.
Get them while they're crispy, folks. This window won't stay open long.
Stake smart. Win big. Time rewards those who act.
Stay crispy, Hexicans.
You gotta move it, move it. Feel the rhythm of the blockchain.